welcome to this special edition of Tilton Talk. My name's Chris Brown. We're going to take a look back at some of the interviews and moments we've had over the last few years here on Tilton Talk. So sit back and enjoy. And here we are from a couple of years ago, talking to the legend that is Kevan Broadhurst.
I'd love to walk down that tunnel. I'd love to do it. You know, it's like, I think we all would here on match day with a blue shirt on and wear that badge, you know what I mean? Like, play for, if you play well for the badge on the front, then we'll always remember the name on the back. That's my motto. I like that. That's pretty clever, isn't it?
You know, Kevan, you jump in, mate.
Well, it's an incredible experience walking on St Andrews. Because when
I've done it. I've actually won £1,000 once on the lottery.
But to play.
Winning the lottery, but playing a little bit different, you know.
To play on the pitch. Play on the pitch. Yeah. When Triton Showers sponsored the Blues.
Yes.
We played the All Stars.
Triton Showers.
Do you remember? It was about 93.
Still got a shirt key. Yeah. Well, I didn't sell many, but the ex-players wouldn't play in the Kumar design shirt. Do you remember this? It was
a Dolly Mixer shirt, wasn't it?
Was that one?
It was the Indian colours. The Indian colours of the Indian flag.
I refused to buy one.
Done like raindrops. So anyway, I ended up playing left back, marking Harry Roberts, and I never saw him all through the game.
Well,
come off at half time. It was a pre-season. It was a pre-season, pre-game.
Right.
We were playing Real Sociedad, and we played the old boys before that. And I come off at half-time. I didn't stop sweating until it was about 11 o'clock. Just the turf. You know, they talk about Wembley, how it saps everybody. Yeah. If you're not fit and you go on that pitch...
No, I'm not fit.
It just destroys you.
To be fair as well, you say he was marking Harry Roberts.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't the most mobile, was he?
It was that bad.
Compared with Keith.
He had drug-enhancing stuff.
He's top
but the thing is, when you go out there, it's just like they say at Wembley. You disengage with the game.
Yeah.
The first thing you're doing is looking around and waving at your family and all that sort of stuff. You know? So it's a great experience, but it cost me £100.
Must be absolutely an incredible experience to have. Because big crowds back in them days, all those people shouting your name. It must just put goosebumps on my arms, mate. Love it.
But then that goes to the territory, don't it?
Absolutely.
Playing in a football team, and unfortunately, I'm guessing really, Kev, it's the forwards that get the adulation and the name shouting more than defenders, by and large, isn't it?
But as players, you take it for granted, especially if you get used to it as a young player.
Yeah.
Maybe if you come out of non-league and you're 23, 24, you might appreciate playing in front of, not being in front of 100, 200, 1,000 fans. You might appreciate it a little bit more. When you've grown up in it, I mean, I remember running out at lots of different places, all over the country, all the Premiership now, and just taking it for granted, really. And it's because of youth, really, that you just take it as in your stride. Now I look back and think, bloody hell. To captain Blues and, as you say, run out of St Andrews with a team behind you, run out at Old Trafford, run out at Main Road, run out at Anfield. And at the time, I thought it was just natural, and anybody could do it. And when you look back, you think, well, no, not anybody could do it, and not anybody could cope with it.
Yeah.
As Keith said, it's we did it, and we took it for granted, whereas other people, and I manage, they have, every year they have this soccer aid, and I manage people. 2 former players manage the teams, 2 playing the teams, and I've done both managing and playing. And the people who come in that, and they just can't cope with playing on a I was going to say Premiership ground, on a Championship ground, and they can't come to terms with it all. It is quite strange, really.
I could take all that in. It's just that I just didn't have you. Just to kick a ball, you know what I mean?
Seriously, anyone can kick a ball.
Just haven't got it in me. There you go. That's another story.
Dear God.
Okay, so how did you get into football then, and how did it all happen for you?
I just mainly, as a kid, really. I started my junior school, and we were very much a football junior school. So at 8 I was playing in the under-11 team, and at 8 I was representing the district. And it just mushroomed from there. I joined probably the most successful amateur side for our age in Yorkshire, and from there I bounced to Leeds and Man City and Birmingham and Burnley and Bradford and places like that, really. So at 14, 15 I used to go. I mean, we didn't have academies then. I mean, now this game is full of academies, EPP, category 1, 2, 3. I mean, the football now is unbelievable. It's 24/7, even for 10, 11, 12-year-olds, which is incredible, really.
Do you think it's too much, Kev?
I think it is too much, and until they show me the figures that we're actually producing so many more players than we did. I mean, the talent pool is still what it is. I mean, our involvement with professional clubs was at the time school holidays. So February half term you come for a week at Birmingham, but April half term you go. Maybe if you were offered, you go to Man City for a week, you go Bradford a week, and then in the 6-week holidays you didn't go anywhere particularly until late because all the clubs would be off. So, you know, and clubs would then ask you back, and then when you're 15, 16, a lot of them used to sign what was called the blue form, which tied you to a football club. But to be fair, the people I had around me, family, said just go and enjoy it, and when you find somewhere you enjoy, then just go and sign. So I left it, never signed for anybody, played for this Pudsey Juniors as it was, where a lot of players went into pro football, and I just waited, and I got 1 or 2 offers, but I'd always enjoyed Birmingham, always got a liking for it really, and I could have gone Leeds, I could have gone to Man City, I could have gone to Burnley, could have gone to a number of clubs, but I just quite liked it, and I'm one of these that I like to be comfortable. I don't like challenges particularly. You know what I mean? Me and my wife at the moment doing this paddy course. We're off to Australia in the summer, and we're doing this diving course, Professional Association of Divers, and it's like frightening the hell out of me. So I don't like things I don't like. So Birmingham always made me welcome, from the kit man to the guy who made the tea to everybody else. So I was delighted when they said come and sign for 2 years, and that's what I did really. And at the time, you know, I was in with Mickey Rathbone, Roy McDonough, who both made first team appearances. Above me there was like Jimmy Calderwood and Stevie Bryant and all these, and the one thing that persuaded me was the amount of success that Blues had bringing players through. And the difference between Blues, Man City was different. I didn't really enjoy Man City. Burnley, I didn't like Burnley, and I still don't like Burnley. If you listen to my commentaries with Tom, it's like, you know, it's like ground from hell for me. Burnley.
What don't you like about Burnley?
Burnley. Full stop. Without a B with a Y, and anywhere in between.
Is it a club or is it just Burnley itself?
Just Burnley. I went there a couple of times because I'm a Leeds fan as a kid, and I went there a couple of times, and it was summer, and it was freezing, it was horrible, and it was a horrible game, and we got locked out, and I got chased by the old Bill, and you know, you think I don't need
Saturday afternoon out,
so it took me a long time to realise that, you know, Blues were for me. Leeds didn't produce players at the time. Leeds were in a time frame of buying players, so everybody at Ellen Road had been bought in. Blues had a reputation.
What year was that, Kev, when we were Leeds?
75.
So Jimmy Armfield would have been the manager, wouldn't he?
75. I'm not sure who was manager. No, it'd be Don, wouldn't it? 75 would still be Don Revie, I think.
It was Don Revie.
Yeah, it's going to be Don, I think.
When did Don go to England? Wasn't Don... Malcolm MacDonald, when he scored 5 goals against Cyprus, wasn't Don the manager then?
I'm not sure, but it was about that time.
It was around that time.
And I didn't think that Leeds really produced enough players. They started to sign, I mean, they signed great players, Joe Jordan, Gordon McQueen, and all these players came in. And Blues, I mean, in the side there was Trevor, there was Bob, there was Joe Gallagher, there was Malcolm Page. I mean, we had literally probably 8 out of 11 were lads we produced, and in the background there was Jimmy's and Stevie Phillips and Stevie Bryant and Gary Emanuel and all these players, and Burnsy, of course, don't forget Ken.
We've played football with him.
I thought you couldn't play football.
I was in goal.
No, Kenny smashed him as a footballer.
He smashed the ball.
wouldn't
He smashed the ball into my face, right, and I was in goal, and it poleaxed me, and I'm not joking, I went down like a ton of bricks, and he came up, he said, "You're right, I looked at him, I said, I stopped you, didn't I?"
It was a back of Ken. And that's the reason, really, and so, one, I really enjoyed it, and two, you know, he had a good reputation there, and then behind my group, there was Kevin Dillon, behind him there was Mike Dennis, and behind him there was Julian Dix and Pat Vandenor, and
cracking names there.
And there's a history of Blues there, really, and I think that's why when people look back at Blues, and we're doing a 70s evening in a couple of weeks' time.
Friday.
I think
Week Friday.
Is it the 70s, early 80s? It was for me probably the best time at Blues, really.
I mean, I'll echo that.
Some great atmospheres there, weren't they? Just incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to somebody the other day and he was saying that one of the cup runs they had, Blues, whatever year, 5 cup games, over 50,000, averaged over 50,000 a game for the cup games.
Yeah.
I mean,
First time my dad took me, there was over 50,000.
I remember playing at St Andrews with 40,000 there.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
Just must have-
40-odd
just-
thousand.
Yeah.
I mean, it's phenomenal. And now they're lucky to get 23,
Yeah.
24 maybe.
Lucky to
You
get
know?
17.
Times
I mean,
have changed, haven't they? I mean, the unseated stadium haven't done football clubs many favours because it's largely outpriced the working class fan.
Funny, we went to Peterborough Saturday and they got standing at both ends.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. They're the last one, aren't they, Peterborough? I don't know how they get away with it.
It's got to be brought back. It's got to be brought back. That's another subject for another day, innit?
Well, I think it's a necessity, and I don't think it ever should have been taken away, to be quite truthful. I know we've had problems and that, but, you know, the Hillsborough, and certainly Isle, and then Hillsborough, and then the Taylor report, but we know that not to be correct.
Well, it used to be great.
It's
I mean,
absolute
as I
rubbish.
said earlier, I'm a Leeds fan, and to go on the Copper Leeds, you know, and I know it was like the ground would be packed. I went to Leeds Sunderland. I think there's 57,000 in the ground for a FA Cup replay. I mean, now the FA Cup you can't get two men on his dog, but 57,000 at Ellen Road for a replay. It was the atmosphere. Now I'm sure it weren't safe. You know what I mean? Looking today with health and safety, I'm sure with 57,000 in that ground, it wasn't safe. But you can tell me that day, I was about 11, 12. It was the most fantastic occasion.
Yeah.
And a memory you've kept forever, really.
Oh, without a doubt.
But I feel like you do as football fans, don't you? You know, I mean, a memory of mine that I will, and I'll echo that. Them days, I think of Jim Smith. I think Freddie Goodwin and then Jim Smith are the best two Birmingham City managers that I've ever seen. And certainly in terms of Jim Smith, it was always playing attacking, attractive football, and the players that we had within our team, they were all comfortable on the ball. We used to play some decent football in
Well,
them
Jim
days.
would rather win 4-3 than 1-0, wouldn't he?
Exactly, yeah.
And the only thing I disliked about the terraces is every Monday morning we had to run up them. That was the only problem. And if cleaners didn't turn up, we used to have to sweep them as well on a Monday morning.
It's pretty steep, that cop, as well, wasn't it?
It was unbelievable. You go up and down there a few times.
I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was the second steepest one. Man City's was the first, and ours was the second steepest.
When I used to get to the top of there, blowing through my backside, it felt like the steepest in the country.
Do you think that young players should do that now, though, today? I mean, that was good grounding for you, Kev, wasn't it?
They do need to do something to keep these kids grounded.
Yeah.
You know, they do need to come up with some formula to keep the kids grounded. The kids these days in football, certainly Premier clubs and Championship clubs, are so mollycoddled, it is unbelievable.
Yeah.
It is everything is done for them. They have no respect for anything. Not even the kit. You know, the kit is just lobbed in a corner. They do have to put some ground rules in where...
So I take
the
it you went
kids
through
have
all
a-
your boot duties then back in the day?
Oh, absolutely. You know, you used to. I mean, it used to be great because you used to start of the season. There'd be probably 16, 18, what was called apprentices. So you'd have four pair of boots each. But as the second years were released, instead of 16, 18 of you, it got down to 10. So then your numbers would go up to 5 pair each because didn't anybody else come in. So then it was 6, and by the end of the season, when all the second years had been released, you got up to 10 pairs apiece. Like most of your day was spent cleaning boots. And if you had Trevor, who had a pair of boots for every day of the week, you know, it used to be, you know, these, what were they called? Stylo. He had Stylo. Do you remember the Stylo boots? Leeds all wore them at the time.
Right.
Leeds wore. And he must have had a new pair every other day, and it had to be spotless. I mean, they say in mine at the end when I left Blues. I mean, they used to just blow the cobwebs off mine because I was 18 months injured, and they used to just blow the cobwebs.
Talking of that injury, you know, I suppose we've got to bring it up. Should we bring it up now, or should we bring it up later?
Yeah, and we'll do that a bit later because we've got a little bit of a career to go through first. 173 games for Birmingham City. Which was your best memory out of 173 games?
I don't know. It was always nice when you got promoted. I mean, we had a few where we got promoted. We drew 3-3 with Notts County last game of the season, and we thought we'd walk it. Really, I think we'd have probably 3-1 up with 20 minutes to go.
You were, Kev, trust me.
Yeah, and suddenly they got 3-2, and then it's 3-3, and the panic sets in, and you just. Unfortunately, in those days, it weren't none of this 5 minutes overtime. It was like 90 minutes. There you go.
Yeah.
You know, you had 10 minutes for half time. 20 to 5, we finished. I could count 10 to 5. We'd be on our second pint in the players' lounge by then. So we were pretty quick after, but that was always great. And obviously, you know, playing at the big grounds. When you win staying up, we had 3 last days of the season games where we need to win to stay up. We went to Southampton once, went to Coventry twice, and they are honestly really tough games. But when you win them, it is because you know you secure yourself another season in the top flight. We actually never lost any of those. I don't know how it would have been had we lost one of those, but we never did. We won all three, 1-0 as well. All three 1-0, and that was in about a 5-6 year. I mean, the biggest probably disappointment was when we got beat by Watford in the cup in the semi-final when John Barnes got to
quarter-final.
In the quarter-final, and they drew Plymouth in the semi-final.
Yes, right. Yeah.
So there was ups and downs. You know what I mean? It was.
How always is it though?
And more from Kevan later. SRBRadio.com. Here's Blues and Irish International Dave Langan.
Did you ever get your testimonial?
I had a dinner in Dublin about 5 years back. They did a dinner for me as a gesture, you know, because I was really struggling at the time, and it went reasonably well. And unfortunately, the book, the publishers went into liquidation, so it cost me more money than it was actually doing the book.
Oh God, that's not good. That's not good.
Yeah,
Is the book
just
still?
just one of those things, you know.
Is the book still available?
Well, as far as I know, I mean, I haven't spoken to anyone for a while now, but as far as I know, it is, yeah.
So what do you do with your life nowadays, David?
I work for a local store here in Peterborough. I see my grandchildren as much as I can, and I'm chilling now. I mean, I'm getting on now, and the old legs and all the injuries have got up on me, so I won't be able to play for Blues next weekend.
But I'm both myself and Chris Brown are a little bit more fortunate than Chris Pugh asking the other questions tonight. Is that we actually remember you playing, and my God, some of them games, dear me, and you know, running through walls is an understatement. Proper.
Well, in those days, you just you had so much pride in the shirt, and you just you didn't want to let people down, you know, because those people, at the end of the day, they pay your wages.
It's
and you just didn't want to let them down, and every time you got beat, you could see the disappointment on their faces. And I used to go home, and I used to just wanted to go to bed and wake up on a Monday morning because I was so depressed. I don't know if it's the same these days. I don't know, because I'm obviously well out of it now.
David, is that one of the possible reasons why you're not as in touch with football nowadays? Because you see such a difference between the attitudes of the players in your era and nowadays?
Yeah, I just don't like what's happened. You know, all you get now is managers saying systems and play this system, play that system, and about character and attitude. I mean, honestly, I'm being honest, with Cloughie, it was just go out and play.
Yeah.
With Smithy, it was just go out and play. There was no system, it was just go out and play. And then I look at the bench these days, and there's nearly a football team on the bench.
Yeah.
Whereas when I was at Derby, Cloughie told me, got hold of me one day, got me around with a scruff of the neck, took me down to the bench. They were playing Southampton. He said, I want you to sit with me. And also was on the bench was me, Cloughie, Peter Taylor, the physio, and Cloughie's dog.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
But you know, these days you can get another team on there.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? They took up half the stand, don't they?
It's changed dramatic.
I think it will continue. I think the bubble will burst, though, David. I do.
Well, I don't know. I don't look into it that much, but I just don't feel the same about it anymore, to be honest.
Yeah, cool. Okay, got a couple of questions here for some listeners that have come in, matey.
Question on the Facebook page for the younger listeners tuning in tonight. Just who were a few of your teammates at Blues that people might have recognised and heard of?
Sorry, say that again. Any Blues?
Some of your favourite teammates and who you played with at your time at Blues for the younger people who might be listening.
Well, I think I lived with Alan Corbishy for a while because I was going through a personal problem. He was a great lad, and then I had, but I think Mark Dennis was my full-back partner at the time, and he's the one lad that should have played for England because he was awesome, but unfortunately his temperament let him down.
No, surely not.
he was some player.
He was good.
Yeah.
I know, yeah. I mean, could you both get your boots back on for next week, mate? We're a bit short.
Okay.
Well, I think he'd be a better choice than me at the moment.
And just another comment about the lack of character in football nowadays. Is that another thing you've noticed? The characters have gone out of the game.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, when we have like Blues, we got Frank Orrington, you know, Elvis Mad, and
right.
he was a real character. At Derby, I was with Charlie George, and a hell of a character. You know, and I don't see any of them these days. But I mean, you know, I can't blame the players. It's the way the game's gone. You know, they don't seem to enjoy it anymore.
Yeah, there's one thing I can't stand personally. That's players turning up with headphones on.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most disrespectful things out. If a player turning up and he's got a pair of headphones on, I don't want to listen to you. I've got something going on in my head that, you know, I want to listen to rather than, you know, talk to a football crowd, you know, like you say, people that pay the wages.
Yeah. And then you lose a game and you see them swapping shirts and I'm thinking, Christ, they just beat me. I don't even want to talk to them. You know, they're swapping shirts. It's just changed, really dramatic, you know.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, another comment. Dave, who was the best right back I've seen at Birmingham City. You've commented on the best player you've played against with Maradona, but who was the best player you played with, both internationally and club football?
Oh, that's a hard question. I would say this is going to upset Blues fans here because he played for the nasty lot across the other side of the town.
Yeah, we don't say the word either.
It was Paul McGrath. I mean, played with Paul for Ireland, and he was awesome.
Yeah.
You know, him and Liam Brady, I suppose, are the two best players I've ever played with.
Brilliant. Yeah. Cracking stuff.
Obviously, you mentioned about Cloughie bringing you to Derby when you were young. Someone like him, do you think football let him down a little bit, especially after he left football? Do you think, obviously, he went and did a bit of TV work and that, but do you think football could have done more to keep him in the game a little bit longer?
I think he had a lot of personal problems, and I just think he had to get away from the game. I mean, there'll never be another like him because he was a one-off, and I mean, I don't think he'd actually survived in the game today the way it's changed, because he wouldn't have taken all the nonsense from the TVs, or
could you imagine it?
You know, he just wouldn't have taken it. He would have snapped.
Yeah.
And you know, I just think he had to get fade away from the game.
Yeah, it's all about PR and everything now as well, isn't it?
Yeah, he understands that sort of stuff.
And at that time, obviously in the 70s, where England internationally were failing to qualify for tournaments, do you think, obviously, a massive missed opportunity not hiring him as manager?
Oh yeah, he went for the interview, didn't he? And they didn't give it to him, but they'd already agreed to give it to Ron Greenwood, didn't they? So it was a waste of time. But they gave him the under-21 job. It was a massive opportunity, but again, I don't think he'd have been suited for that because, you know, the FA people, I don't think he'd have put up with that nonsense either.
No. It's a shame, though, obviously, because what he achieved, such massive things in club football, not to get that international chance as well.
Yeah, because the guy, he was amazing. He'd spot anything. He'd never miss a trick. You know, if you thought you got away with something, he'd pull you to one side. You know, he wouldn't miss anything. And you think, oh, I've got away with that, and then 2 minutes later, he after you. But I mean, he was very good to me because I was very homesick, and he used to make me do jobs for him, and you know, try and keep me occupied. And he was a really nice guy to me. I know he gave me a clip here on the ear a few times, but he was, you know, a really superb to me the way he treated me.
Marvellous stuff, wonderful stuff. In Peterborough, if you do bump into Mr. Barry Fry, tell him we want him on the show as well next.
Oh, is he on next? Is he?
He's actually down at the Blues over the weekend, and I missed him by about a minute.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. But again, like you say, a character, an absolute character.
Oh yeah, you need people like him in the game, don't you? You need some characters.
But there's just nothing. You know, when you look at the Premier League, and I can't even pronounce 3/4 of the managers' names now.
Well, they get interviewed after games, don't they? And I don't understand what they're saying. You think, well, how do you give a team talk?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's me getting old.
No, we're all getting old, kid. It's not you. Well, Dave, thanks for the great memories, and I'm sure you've made a lot of Blues fans happy tonight by letting us get you on the show, my good man. And whatever is in life holds for you, we hope it's the best.
All right, lovely. Thanks very much, lads.
Bless you. Cheers, my friend. There is an absolute legend, and like you said, you know, running through walls was his trick. He was one hard nut, one great guy. Dave Langan, ladies and gents. Dave Langan. Thanks, Dave.
Here's a great interview with Blues favourite Robert Hopkins.
Lane, Pitmaster, and I went to Pitmaster School. Obviously, 4 brothers, 3 sisters, all mad Blues fans. My dad took us down the games. Or you know, sometimes you get a rogue supporter,
Yes, absolutely,
like black sheep of the family. But we still haven't got that name. My brothers, sisters, they all
That's a
support.
familiar sound.
They're all married to Blues or boyfriends, girlfriends. So Pitmaster, left school at 14, or I think I was chucked out of school at 14, one or the other. But the maddest thing is, I had trials for Blues, Villa, Coventry. I had trials for everyone.
Right.
And I ended up signing for the Villa.
You're listening to a Tilton Talk special featuring interviews and moments from the Tilton Talk show, recorded from 2012 to the present.
I know, and
Which, you know...
How did that feel like?
Where do we go from there?
the biggest question I've got with that one is you're blue nose through and through.
At the time, I wasn't. I went to every
And
Blues
the
game.
Villa sign you up. Is that your first professional contract?
Well, it was an apprentice.
An apprentice.
As an apprentice,
right?
yeah.
And you are looking at me straight in the eye now. You had to sit in that changing room and put that shirt on.
Yeah, but tell them what you had underneath it, Rob.
Now, before that, I wasn't expelled, but I was chucked out of school.
Right.
I had to leave early.
Has to
14.
leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was-
Nice
I
time.
wasn't expelled, but so you know, Blues and that, because a lot of teams didn't want to know me because I wasn't the best behaved person in the world.
Right.
So Villa said, "Come to us, we'll have you." And to be honest, that was brilliant. They used to give you tracksuits, looked after you, give you expenses, you know. And I asked my dad for advice. He said, "Sod off, son."
Quality advice from a quality pop. That's what I say.
But in the end, it made sense. Just to, you know, I was playing football, and then, as you say, I played for Villa. Went in the change room. I always had something blue and white on me.
Did all
always.
the other team members know that?
Yep.
Yeah.
When you're 14, they don't care.
Right,
Because
okay.
you're a kid. I had my Blues bag, you know, scarves, whatever.
And how many times did you actually play for the Villa?
I played 3 times.
3 times.
1 full appearance and 2 substitutes.
Okay. No, what about that day when you made your full appearance and you're having to pull that shirt on?
Well,
I was just thinking about this afternoon at home. I was thinking I actually couldn't put a Villa shirt on. I couldn't do it.
Well, I was playing for the reserves for years. you got to remember, at 14 I was playing,
Yeah.
but I always had something Blues. I made sure, my dad said, make sure you always wear something blue.
Right, sounds like a quality bloke.
But and I was playing for Villa reserves, who used to kick off at 2 o'clock.
Right.
So we played a game, so I always got to the second half of the Blues anyway. So we'd finish early, so I'd get changed quick and watch the second half of the Blues. But anyway, I was only, my first debut was 17. It was before Villa won the European Cup and all, 1978. I nearly said we then. They played Norwich. I nearly said we then. Played Norwich, and Ron Saunders said, Ron Saunders, man, he said, you sub tonight. There was only one sub, I think, in them days.
Probably was, yeah. I
there was only
think
one
there was one
substitute.
sub in them days, yeah.
So,
You had air then as well, Gav.
I spoke to my dad, I spoke to people, and so I couldn't take a Blues bag. I couldn't, because I'm in the foot, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I did, I got there and got changed, and I had this little World Ball bag, you know, the Blues badge.
Yeah, absolutely.
But a really small one. So I put the shirt on. So I put this badge underneath. So I came. We played Norwich. I came on a substitute. Last minute. This is in the World Book of Records. 1 touch, scored.
Really?
Yeah, I scored for Villa. So
Right. How did that feel? Did you celebrate it?
well, what it was a last minute, so it didn't feel like
Everybody was going anyway.
It was 1-0. Villa were winning 1-0.
Yeah.
So I scored this goal, and it was 2-0, and then it was my only touch, and then the full-time whistle went.
Right.
So what I did, I went like that, kissed. It looked like the shirt, but I've kissed my Blues badge, haven't I? So in those days, there wasn't Twitter and none of that. So
Yeah.
Villa fans,
Probably
there was a
good job,
rumour I was a
actually.
Blues fan, but all Villa fans thought he must be a Villa fan. He's kissed his shirt, but I've got this Blues badge, haven't I? No, I've kissed it.
Right.
So it got round. The pressure took off me a bit because everybody was saying he must be a Villa fan. He's kissed
Yeah.
his shirt, but I was kissing my badge. Little did they know, and like that made it
really good, you know, and that made it acceptable. I've just kissed my Blues badge, scored and whatever. So, you know.
And then your other games, Rob, you...
well, I was subbed the week after against Stoke.
And then Notts County.
That was a bit... That was a while after Notts County. So I was subbed the week after against Stoke, and Villa lost 2-0, which was a shame, you know. I came on the last 10 minutes. But I can't remember. I played against Notts County. I can't remember how long afterwards it was.
Yeah.
It was a while afterwards, so it was after Ron Saunders, Tony Barton took charge.
Okay.
I think it was a year after they won the league. Played this Notts County game, and I'm actually starting my first game. So, you know, I've played the game, got my Blues badge on as usual, you know. Villa were losing 4-0. So, like...
Hoppy was hopping.
But what happened... You've been to Notts County in the old days. There's the away fans used to go in the corner.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
So Villa 4-0 down. So I'm taking the corner. It's the first corner we had, I think, all the game. So went over to take the corner, but there must have been a tussle or something before, and my Blues badge had come out.
Right.
It had kind of, you know...
Exposed itself somewhere.
They had these V-shirt. I used to put it in to hide it, but it had come out like... So you could see it easy. So I went over to take this corner, and I heard some Villa fans, he's got a Blues badge on. and everybody's... And there was nearly a riot. They were trying to get at me.
That was the end of your career there, was it?
The corner, it was the last minute. I don't know what happened to the corner, but, like, we was off.
Yeah.
And, like, after... There was punch-ups in the corner, all of them fans trying to get onto the pitch and all this. But the old badge, but needless to say, that was my one and only full game for the Villa.
Right.
But the badge went...
So you got yourself into the record books and then managed to lose 4-0 the next time round?
It was I can't remember that.
That's what I call it.
That's in the record books, that goal.
Brilliant. Yeah, really.
Yeah, it's against Norwich. Kevan was in goal, yeah.
He was a decent.
One time, I was only on the pitch 30 seconds, scored, and that was it.
Blimey.
So he can't be beat, really, you know, so... But it was good because I kissed the badge and all.
Yeah.
He can't be a Blues fan. He's kissing the badge.
Well, they found out a few years after that
It
when he was
Blues
itching
badge.
his Birmingham City badge. Blimey.
So in the deal that saw you come to Blues, then Curbs went the opposite way.
Yeah, man, I like
And
Curbs.
good friends.
Curbs is alright. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to think Blues got the best deal.
I think he definitely did.
I like to think so. Curbs is a good player, wasn't he?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
I don't know how many games he played for Villa or whatever, but he was a good player. He did well for the Blues, didn't he?
Yeah.
To be honest.
Because it's not that often that you see the divide. You know, the players crossing the divide.
Kirbysley was the last one.
Was he?
There was a lot of the times when Ron Saunders moved over, there was a lot.
We've had a number from Villa.
It was the Ron Saunders thing. He took over.
When Tony Reese come as well, didn't he?
He had Des Bremner went over.
Yeah.
Dave Geddes.
Yeah.
There was quite a few. Tony Morley.
Yeah. No,
But they didn't care about it. They were Villa people.
Yeah.
So, as a kid, then being taken to Blues, where would you stand or sit?
Well, my first game was 1966, and my dad in the Cop, as usual. And you know, people say it's not true that they carried you down, but
They did.
I was actually carried in the top corner in the Tilton. I was actually carried all the way down.
Yeah.
And it's a thing that you never forget. You know,
It's pretty scary.
It was a night game, and you see all the smoke coming, all the flat caps in them days, and. But in them days, I sat. You remember you could sit by the side?
Yes.
There was a bit of gravel.
Yeah.
There was the pitch, the grass.
Yes.
And then there was about that much
Still a
gravel.
fence.
Whereabouts was this? Whereabouts was this?
Where the team men used
The
to walk
Cop
round.
side.
In the Cop,
yeah.
side.
And you get the two men selling programmes and all that.
Yeah.
But
With the white coat on.
you used to be able to sit on that gravel. That's where I used to sit when we
All the
dad
kids
first
used to
got
do that.
Yes,
didn't they?
yeah, very much so,
Down
yeah.
there.
Great it was.
Okay, so you then get signed up for Blues. Now you've got a real shirt on, a proper shirt, one that you'd want to wear. Sitting in the dressing room, what was your first game?
Notts County again. Amazing. Notts County.
Was that home or away?
But I couldn't. But it wouldn't sink in that I'd signed for Blues. You know.
Right.
'Cause I was phoning people.
You see,
It was like a dream.
Yeah, all your
It was
life
amazing.
you've been looking up to your
it was
cult
amazing.
heroes and this, that and the other. All of a sudden you are one.
And you're reading it
You
on the back of
become
the
one.
Evening Mail.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
That must be a scary thing for the first time.
I was a nervous wreck.
Yeah?
I've never been... That was the most scariest day, walking out the Blue. I got 120 tickets, I think. Not to count. There was only 150 there.
Watch me score within a minute.
But that was a good crowd, but it was Notts County. I always remember it. And I always remember my first touch. It was a header, it bounced up, headed it, and there was a big roar. And the Blues fans were on my side straight away.
Straight away,
Unbelievable.
Absolutely.
Because I knew
the passion.
I like to think I'm a one-off, you know, because I used to go to every single game, and this header, and there was a massive roar, and straight from then I felt great. And Blakey was there anyway after, because you know,
felt at home.
So I mean, to be fair, I remember Hoppy when he come, as say Curb's decent player, and this young boy that come with a bit of a reputation, and we knew that he was a Blues fan, and as I say, it was like it wasn't long until we took Hoppy to our hearts because we knew that he was one of us, and you know, if you could play any game that's ever been played in the history of football, what game would you play?
I'd play that game again, my first Blues game. It was amazing. You could never put that into words.
As some feeling, you know. At that time they used to come out at the halfway line, didn't they?
Oh, you used to have to walk past a D club and everybody's having a drink and all my mates are in going,
and I promise you,
passing the beer over.
In that D club, all up his life. I tell you what, they prop the bar up every weekend.
Oh, I'd have that game. You know, I'll never forget that first touch.
Then,
I'll never forget that.
Walking out that tunnel and
nobody will ever
seeing
take
the sunlight
that off,
and just hearing that noise.
But again, that, you know, out of all the players that's ever played for Birmingham, Hoppy has got to be the most passionate footballer that we've ever had.
Well,
one of us that's wore our shirt.
You know, people say they support. I mean, I was at Hillsborough in 1972. 3-0 we lost Leeds.
Yeah, 72.
It's having the red and white.
Yeah.
I was there at Hillsborough. I was there at Main Road. First time I ever seen my dad cry. That was.
Really?
Yeah. So you know, I'm proper. Everybody knows I'm proper. I'm not. You know, Mickey Mouse plastic.
Where's your badge inside your shirt today?
Not today, no. I've got a tattoo, Blues tattoo.
Have you not?
It's Birmingham, England, I've got.
Oh, right.
So.
That's on the chest. He's not going to get his nips out. He's not going to get his nips out in the studio. He's not going to do it. He's shy.
It's good radio, this, isn't it?
Yeah.
Have a look at his tattoo.
We know we've got a camera on the go, but not. Needless to say, you played with some characters during that time.
Oh, absolutely brilliant. The people, as I say, I'm proper Blues, but when Ron Saunders done the early 80s team, they was turned into Blues fans. They loved the club, the supporters, and the team, the camaraderie. You know, Ron Saunders used to say, "I want a team who I can be in the trenches with."
Yeah.
You know, in Iraq or whatever, and he got one. We wasn't the best playing team in the world, but nobody had outmuscled us. We was brilliant. And after a game, all 11 would be in the pub, not one or two, all 11, and nobody was allowed to go home until next day.
And I tell you what, seriously,
it was proper.
I can vouch for that because I used to work at Faces at the time, and I often, you know, I used to work in the D club and serve Hoppy to his first pint. Right. And then at the end of the night, there's Hoppy over the bar, and I'm putting the shutters up, and all the players used to be up there. There were a team on the pitch, and there were a team off the pitch, and I think that's what Ron Saunders gave you, didn't it?
And I don't care what you say. That was I wouldn't say the hardest, probably yeah, it's probably wrong, but it's the hardest squad of players you'll ever get. Mick Arthur went to Wimbledon.
I mean, how hard was Mick Arthur?
He called them pussycats compared to the Blues. So.
I mean, in that team, we'd got Blakey,
Tony
Coton, Howard Gale, yourself,
Pat Vandenhall.
Oh, I mean, he was a psycho, wasn't he, Pat?
That was his name, Psycho.
Yeah, Psycho Pat.
All right, we've got some questions coming then. First one, please, GA.
Well, Blue Hobber says, who does Hoppy class as the best player he's played alongside and against?
It's always difficult, though. You could say, players, but I like to say best forward or best defender or best. But as you say, Mick Arthur, easily Mick. He was a great player, but he was the hardest player as well. And the best defender, Mark Dennis, easily. Mark was brilliant. And the goalkeeper was difficult because I played with Tony Coton and Dave Seaman.
Right.
But Dave Seaman let in the goal against Altrincham.
Yes.
Yeah, we were going to go to that.
I'm coming to that one in a minute.
Afterwards, 1986.
About 1 o'clock in the morning, I said, "You'll never make it, you, Dave, because your fault."
I mean, that was a.
How old would he have been then?
He not long come from Peterborough, hadn't he?
Is it Peterborough?
Yeah.
Or was it Leeds?
No, I thought he'd come from Peterborough. Did he go Leeds, Peterborough, Brummagem?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, sure, he had something to do with Leeds.
I'm a researcher. I can't do things by memory.
I think he's a Leeds
Tony
boy,
Coton and
isn't he?
Dave Seaman, I'm picking Tony Coton because he didn't embarrass me.
Oh, exactly. Mind you, I mean, Tony Coton, what a goalkeeper he was. I'd say Coton.
Brilliant.
If I was to name my all-time Blues, I would say Coton.
Goalkeepers over the years, without a doubt.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff Whelans was a great
Jeff
goalkeeper.
Whelans. Jim Blythe was there when I started. Jim Blythe, was a good keeper, yeah.
Well, Jeff was in goal for Altrincham that night.
Well, we'll come to that.
Was it?
We'll come to that goal. Come to that goal now, then. That Altrincham goal. That must have
well, I
just taken
scored our
you to
goal.
pieces.
It was-
You've scored,
it
you've
was
scored
just
one
both.
for us, yeah.
Yeah, so but it was just one of those things that I kind of took it, and then I just kind of in those days you could pass it back. It doesn't.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And you know, Dave said he just. I think it was he just slipped, didn't he? You know, bloody idiot. He once put on the right boots, but it was the most embarrassing night of my life. I did go to some pub and didn't come out for because it was actually on the front page of the Evening Mail, and not the back.
Nightmare.
It was on the front page, so. But that is why I love Blues fans.
Yeah.
I played the next game. Anybody else would be dead scared.
Shocked.
You
Yeah.
just. But they were brilliant to me. Give me a round of applause and everything. That was brilliant. Just so you know, and they should have slaughtered Dave Seaman a bit more.
Well, I mean, what was it? It was a third round. It was a replay, wasn't it? Because it was a night game.
It wasn't a replay. We hadn't played them before.
Was it a Saturday? Was it late?
No, it was a night game, but it wasn't a replay.
Has it got cancelled then?
Definitely
the first
hadn't.
one, yeah.
We hadn't played at Altrincham, definitely.
Yeah.
So, but the strangest thing is, a couple of years ago, I had a letter off Altrincham Supporters Club inviting me to their 25th anniversary of beating the
goal.
Yeah.
Nice one.
They
Did you
invited
go?
me to, no, I did not. No. I don't think they did have one. I think they was taking the mickey.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
right.
I don't think they actually had a do, but
Yeah.
they sent me this invitation, which was fair play. It was quite funny. So,
But that was a mad. I mean, there was what was it about 6,000 as well then that night, wasn't there? The gate was really low, and to be honest, all the Altrincham players they all come in the D club.
I've got
I
the
don't remember
photos.
you like coming in the D club that night, but I remember Jeff Whelans and the rest of them. And to be fair, I had to serve them. You know, it was probably I would say probably that was Birmingham's darkest hour.
One of them.
Wasn't it? You know, to get beat to Altrincham
Well,
in
we
a
was.
cup game.
equivalent to a Premier League team. We was first division.
But even so, like in them days, as Rob says, you know, we were a first division team.
It happens
was
almost
Altrincham.
every year, though, doesn't it? You know, you get one.
Yeah, but not particularly like that. The Deaf Now was sounding at
Saying that,
Birmingham in
didn't
them days.
Kidderminster beat us a couple of years later?
Kidderminster.
They did, but I think we
That
were in a
was-
better position, to be fair.
That was one of my.
Well, that was
darkest hours.
1993. I mean, Sullivan and Gold had just bought the Blues, and you know we were on the up, whereas the Altrincham game we were definitely on a slide down. I mean, we got relegated that season, Rob, didn't we?
Yeah.
Last
I
game
don't
of the
think
season,
we
Arsenal.
won another game after that.
No, I don't think we did.
It just destroyed us.
Oh, it was awful. Then were deep, dark days
Tell me about 'em.
for Birmingham City.
I remember turning up to them.
Oh, yeah. no.
Doing the safari in the car park by the in between the GM and the cop. There used to be some parking up there. You'd be lucky to get in. Potholes was up there.
Dark days.
We ain't there anymore though.
No,
Annie.
but you know, I mean, he was.
We ain't far off, but we're there.
No, I mean, things are bad and things are tight and all the rest of it now. But as I think in them days, it was awful. Them were the days of Ken Weldon. I think, had took over the club at that time.
Look at the state of the stadium then as well. Though.
Oh God, it was desperate. It was desolate. You know, it was awful. You know, with all the bits and pieces and all the, you know, the bad things and that Sullivan and Gold, they did do an awful lot of good for Birmingham City. You
Yeah,
know,
definitely.
through the Football Foundation, they built 3 parts of the football ground, and they did resurrect it. Okay, it's not, you know, at the minute going as we'd like to with the Chinese, but you know. Who knows what's around the corner at
I'll
Birmingham
come to them
City?
in a minute. I'll come to them. I might have
Don't
a
get me
snip.
started. Oh, don't get me started. That rubbish.
Might have a snippet.
I don't believe anything.
Might have a snippet
Oh,
for you again.
don't go away.
Just watch his space.
Yeah.
So then managers changed. John Bond came in.
Was it John Bonstrow? Wasn't that when I left and come back?
Just as you were leaving, I believe, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, he sold me, didn't he? Yeah. Well, it's John Bond turned
Yeah,
up. He turned up in a Jaguar and a big cigar, didn't he? I remember that now.
Basildon.
Yeah, he just wasn't right for the Blues, was
Mind
he?
you, he signed you for Shrewsbury as well a few
Shrewsbury
years later,
afterwards,
didn't he?
130,000 he sold you for, didn't he?
165
165.
to where did I go?
You went Man City.
Man
Man
City.
City.
Man City, and then you went
Yeah, I went to Man City, yeah.
West Brom,
Yeah.
didn't you?
Man City. Yeah.
Not long after
And
that.
Man City were broke at the time. They were struggling financially. Big star. Yeah.
So then you come back to Blues at 89,
88.
88?
Well, I went to Man City. I went to West Brom after that, didn't I?
You scored because there was an infamous incident, wasn't there, that we've talked about, and you know, with Birmingham City supporters going, "Up he come and scored a goal against the Blues."
Oh, for the
and he
album?
celebrated. Yeah, remember when you celebrated?
Oh, yeah.
Tell us the story of that, because it ain't as simple as that, is it, mate?
Well, it never is it?
No, it never is.
We played. I don't know why. It was a Sunday morning, and I remember Roger Hansbury was in goal for the Blues.
Yeah.
But West Brom won I think it was 4-0, and I actually scored 2.
Yeah.
And I didn't celebrate the first one, but the second one, I celebrated because nobody knows. All during the game, I was taking corners for West Brom in this corner, and there was this bloke. He's about 18, and he kept on spitting at me and throwing things at me and bottles, and I don't know what I've done to him.
Yeah.
And he actually spat right on me. Remember, the fencing was still there.
Yeah.
And he spat right in my face, and actually, just as he's done it, I actually scored this goal. So I celebrated, but I celebrated to him.
Yeah.
To this one bloke. So afterwards he got round, Hoppy can't be that much of a Blues fan, he celebrated.
Yeah.
But it wasn't celebrating the goal, it was this bloke who I'd love to have gone over the fence
and smashed
and give him a smack. But he got round afterwards, he can't be that much of a Blues fan, he's celebrating and that.
Yeah.
But it was nothing to do with, Blues, it was just this one bloke, which I'd love to see him again, but, But as you say,
he probably wouldn't know.
That's got round. That's got round. They were celebrating, but I didn't. I'm just this one bloke. I was trying to get hold of him.
So on your second return to Blues, then we made the famous journey down to Wembley, and of course, Mr. Lou McCarley didn't play, did he?
At the time, the club was in the right state as well. To be honest, well, the second time, Gary Pendry signed me back.
Right.
Him and Bomber Brown. He signed me deadline day from the Albion. So I went back. I thought I'll go back to the Blues. I'm the only person that went back for less money. A lot less money because it was the Blues. I had 2 years on my contract at the Albion. I thought, I'll go back where I'm supposed to be. But the saying's right, never go back.
Yeah.
It was the club. The first day I went back, we was training on the car park, and we had to put coats down as goals. And I'm thinking, what? I swear to God. And then it was 1 o'clock. And the factories had the dinner, and they come over and joined in the farther side. All the factory lads. I mean, we had one ball. It was complete champ. I thought, what's going on? And I think the first game, I think there was 6,000 there or 7,000.
Yeah, it would have been about that in them days.
And I thought, what have I come back? What's happened to my club? But it got better gradually. As I say, did we get relegated? Gary Pendry left, and Bomber Brown was his number 2, I remember that, and I think Lou took over after that.
But Dave Mackay won. He was
Dave Mackay would have been in the mix there somewhere.
Was he before Lou? I think
he was before. Blimey, he was definitely before. It was Pendry, Mackay, and then Lord Louis and Terry Cooper and Barry.
Dave Mackay, you'd think he'd be, as a player, you'd think he'd be a great manager.
Well, he did win the championship, didn't he, for Derby?
Yes.
But that was really Brian Clough's team.
He was just so boring. He was, he'd put you to sleep.
What were your managers like?
No. He was just there, and he had no intensity about him.
Did he join in the training? Was he?
No, not at all. Never got shorts on his life.
Blimey.
I think somebody said because he used to. Well, I don't know if he used to like it, but he'd been in Saudi Arabia for years as well.
Oh, okay.
And he just used to sit there watching and never ever join in, never ever. And like you got team talks, he boys to death. He was absolutely. You'd think Dave Mackay, his reputation, wouldn't you?
Absolutely, yeah, absolute legend of the game.
He was absolutely boring.
Oh right. So who was the most charismatic manager that you?
Well, I had Ron Saunders. I love Ron Saunders. Yeah. He had a reputation hard as that. He was.
Yeah.
But he'd get you in the dressing room and he'd tell you a joke. He was so different. But as soon as the press were there or something, he'd be, we used to do the running with a haversack like an army on our backs, and he was a sergeant major. But as soon as you got him in the change room, he was good as gold. He's funny as anything. But he signed me 3 times, so he knows a good player.
Nothing like a bit of modesty.
He knows a good player.
And he was built like a brick outhouse. And
he was a fit guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so going back to the 91 Cup final then. Any reasons why you didn't get played?
Oh, this is a story. Well, Lou McCarley was in charge then, wasn't he? So we get to our first cup final for 40 years.
Since 56.
Where do we stay? Reading University, to save money. Reading University we stayed. No tellies. We went in his room, no tellies. There was nothing. It was just a single. It was university because they was on holiday, and there was one bed there. Nothing. First final for years. 40,000 Blues.
Yeah.
And we're at Reading University. So what we did the day before the game, he said, well, this is 8 of the players that are going to play. This is the team. He said, there's 2 places left. He said, whoever runs round this pitch 3 times the quickest,
You're joking.
he's playing. He's
That's
in
how
the
we
team.
picked the other 2 players?
Yeah. So Dean Peer won. And somebody else, and I come last for him, so.
Well, he'd have had
What
bigger
a
legs than you
whack.
anyway, wouldn't he, Dean?
I swear to God, we tried
What a
him in the
way to
morning.
pick a team.
And he was... He was
Good idea.
He said,
Good idea.
yeah, the quickest
On
2
any
rounds.
level. That is a joke. Ah,
But I didn't like Lou McCarthy one little length.
So
really?
you
What
wouldn't say-
was he like? What didn't you like about Lou?
It was just run.
Really?
And he's on the radio now, and he talks all this about football
Yeah.
tactics and that. And when he was at the Blues, he just make you run up and down non-stop. That was it.
Did you never see a ball rubbing your second time he went
Not
to
with Lou
Birmingham?
McCarthy, not really. And I was getting on a bit then as well.
Yeah.
So I was, the old fitness was starting to go, and too much of the old pop was catching up on me.
Who were the characters in that dressing room there in the 91 group? Because, I mean, in the 80s, there were a team of characters, a team of captains. In the 90s, what were the guys? They were quite a young team as well, weren't they?
Yeah.
Gailey was there, wasn't
You
he?
had Big Gallius scored the
Yeah.
goals. You had Vince Overson.
Yeah.
Centre
What did he have for breakfast that day?
Who?
John Gale to score them 2 goals.
Oh, I tell you, John, he was a colossus, wasn't he?
Great goal.
Oh,
That overhead kick is one of the best
I bet he hasn't
I've
scored
ever
one.
seen.
Simon
Tell you what.
Sturridge was sub, wasn't he? He went on, Simon Sturridge.
no, Studge started, didn't he?
He started.
Studge and Gailey played up front because he played the ball. I mean, we won 3-2, didn't Gailey? Didn't he flicked a ball through and Simon scored the first goal? Is my memory right there?
No, he flicked it through.
Or was it the other way?
I think, didn't he?
Honestly,
I'm pretty sure.
I mean, it's like almost a generation ago, and it's such a long time ago, and without looking.
But the only thing, one of the things that still sticks in my
Studge
mind
was
from
definitely
that
playing.
day, just after the final whistle, was when you walked on the pitch and everybody that was in there was singing the I Hoppy song. Absolutely cracking.
Yeah,
and I do remember that.
Well, I thought he might have put me on for 10 seconds just to...
just to just to finish your career off was almost.
Well, the thing is, we did the, the open bus top thing
Oh, tell us about that,
on
Rob.
the Monday.
Yeah, but you was late, weren't you?
Oh, I've been out.
Why don't you answer all the questions, Gab?
I've been out.
Tell us
I've
that.
been out all night, hadn't I? So
No.
I'm in the pub, where McDonald's is
It's a
now.
watering hole, wasn't
Watering
you?
It's a
hole.
watering hole. This is I'm in there from the night before, 10 o'clock in the morning, and all of a sudden I'm looking at them and the coaches are going past. I said, I'm supposed to be on there. It was a team coach who had gone from the ground. So I legged it outside, running up the road. I said to a couple, I'm supposed to be on there. He says, of course you are, son. And if it wasn't for Simon Sturridge and somebody else saying he's supposed to be here, they wouldn't have let me on, so I had to leg it to actually get on the team bus.
Mind you, it's fair to say, if you'd have run as quick to get that team bus as you did round Reading, you might have started at Wembley, I bet.
There you go.
Cracker.
Oh, dear.
Cracker. So you and Lou wouldn't exchange Christmas gifts then?
It just surprised me. It was just, it's all physical running. There was nothing tactical whatsoever. I mean, and you listen to him on the radio now. He's brilliant. Tactical, what Man United have done on that.
Yeah.
I wish he'd have done that when, he was with us. Try to help us tactical-wise instead of just trying to kill us, running marathons.
How much of a difference as a player does that make up? When you're in there, the team talks.
Well, you want to
the
feel
tactics.
wanted.
Yeah.
Players like kids, and
Yeah.
if managers just said, "Go and run up there,"
Yeah.
you want to say, you want managers. I think Redknapp's probably brilliant at it. Looking at,
Yeah.
You're brilliant. You want to. John Bond just said, to be honest, you're brilliant. You're great, and that's what players want to hear.
Yeah.
A bit of confidence, and not go and run around the pitch 25 times.
Well, that's why my football career never took off.
You couldn't kick a ball in anger. That's why you're
I don't think it could happen now. The game's changed so much. You don't run.
I
around
don't
pitches
understand
anymore.
quite why the whole studio broke out into laughter then.
Yeah, I don't think you don't run around pitches anymore up hills. It's all ball work, and it's completely changed. The game's completely changed.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it is a game of football, ain't it? And you need to introduce the ball into training. I mean, if all you can do is run uphill and down dale, you might as well go and have an athletics side.
Saying that about the coach thing as well. After we won Wembley '91,
Yeah.
the next day was the next day we had the
At the open.
open top.
Yeah,
next day. And one of the Kumars gave me a lift home. Said, "What you reckon about next season? What we're going to do?" And it was brilliant.
Yeah.
Talking about what we're going to do. So the Tuesday morning, I got a telegram saying you're sacked.
Right again.
We don't want you no more.
So he'd picked
24 hours before he's saying, what you written next up?
Yeah, he'd picked your brains about all.
It was telegrams in them days. They give you you know.
And he sold you this.
I've still got the telegram saying you are no longer wanted at the club or something.
Do you have any regrets about your football career?
Absolutely loads.
Yeah.
Absolutely loads. How long we got?
What's your biggest one up?
Biggest one.
I hate to say it, I shouldn't have gone back to the Blues.
Yeah.
No matter how much I love that club, the second time the Blues it was a disaster, the old place, and my head done it. I've done it for less money.
Yeah.
I was at the Albion. I've done it for a lot less money, and you think it's the same all the time.
Yeah.
So, and I was upset, and but that was probably it.
SRBRadio.com. And a bit more from Kevin Broadhurst.
And somebody said that when you were playing on the pitch, what did Keep Right On sound like when you were playing? When it was in full voice, could you hear it?
Yeah, I mean, it was an emotional song. You know what I mean? And you know, it's very historic in blues history, really. That it is their song. You know, it isn't. Nobody else has got that song. I mean, Ipswich tried to get it a couple of years ago, didn't they? It is our song. It came from Alex Govan. It is what we're about. During the game, sometimes could be difficult, but if there's breaks in games or before the game, when they sung it, you listen to it, and it was one of those that you then realised what you were doing. You were playing on behalf of all those people that were singing it, really. And the thing about blues, they sang it with heart and feeling. You know, they sang it like it was.
Have you
it was like. And it was like going into battle then for them.
Yeah.
You know, we were, I mean, it sounds stupid, but we were their chosen people, really. Not that they chose, as the manager chose, but we were their chosen people to go on that pitch and go to war for 90 minutes under their colours.
And there was plenty of wars back then, weren't there?
we had a battle
Plenty of battles.
I mean, the booking system helped, that you could literally mug, decapitate without ever feeling you were going to get a yellow card. Certainly never got a yellow card till the second half, you know what I mean? So you were never under too much restraint, really, and it was quite nice, you know, to be able to do that without worrying too much. But it was where the game was, and you know, somebody said earlier about making tackle. I thought Callum Riley last week against Sheffield made one of the best tackles I've ever seen, and he gets a free kick against him for it. You can't take that out of the game, the British game. Otherwise, it is going to become a five-a-side game. It is going to become a possession game, and football's not about that. It's about, you know, 11 players with heart and desire playing to the maximum of their ability, both physically and mentally. So yeah, we got a chess game, but we've also got a boxing match.
Yeah, but looking back, like looking back at in your era to now, it's just so completely different.
Oh yeah, I mean, sports science has taken over, and they're more athletic. They live better lives. They get better paid for it. You know, it's like.
No, I'm all about the battle side of it.
Yeah, but it's all the culture, isn't it? It's all the culture and how it's changed, and you know, tackle from behind was horrendous. And it had to be taken out, and I have no problem with that.
Absolutely.
But they're tackling, 2-footed tackles come out of the game.
Yeah.
But you can still make good tackles. As a fan, I like to see there's much in a good tackle as there is in a good pass, and I think that's where the game's changed now. It's all not everybody, but people want to see passing. 10 passes, 10 passes a goal. No, it's not.
I want to see a shoulder barge.
You want to see a tackle.
Get in.
You want to see a tackle. You want to see somebody, really straight, a Michael Johnson, if you like, where he's really, but he's clearing balls. That's part and parcel of what the game's about.
Those questions were actually from Frosty.
Excellent.
Ben Frost.
Just one little last thing. My friends up at Bucky Thistle last night played, and a guy gets sent off. So he gets red carded, in the first half, and then he gets red carded again twice in the second half. He got 3 red cards in one game.
Well, really, hasn't he?
We wondered where Paul was, didn't we?
Do that.
Say it again.
He was playing.
A player got a red card.
He got red carded and sent off the pitch.
Yeah.
Right? And then he was arguing with the officials, and he got another red card, and then he was arguing with the officials again later on.
Well, you can't, can you?
And had another red card in the same game.
I got 2 once for Noel.
In the same game?
Yeah, in the same game. I got red carded from the pitch and red carded from the stands. So I had 2. So they give me a double ban and a double fine in the Birmingham County FA.
Yeah.
So I've had a double. Yeah, it's not a problem.
I thought you could only get one red card.
I
was waiting for the joke.
No.
I was asked to leave the stands.
I'm not told.
So what did you do, Kev, to get that red card?
Go to the pub afterwards.
Well, the first one was for a bit of a fracas on the pitch, which I can go with. The second one was for abusing the officials. Now, I said to the referee, I had to go to a hearing at the Birmingham County. I said, hang on a minute. I said, look, first of all, did you hear me, referee? They've all come in, the three officials. He said, no, I didn't hear you. I said, and you didn't hear me because you stood on the far side of the pitch. And I said, did you hear me? He went, no. I said, because you were watching the game and I'm stood behind you. So you couldn't tell if it was me or not. And they all agreed they didn't know if it was me for certain.
All right.
And I got suspended for 73 days.
How?
Because they backed the referees. Even though all three of them said they couldn't be certain it was me.
Was it you?
Yeah.
Kevin What a finish. That was straight in the top net. That was your 11th goal, mate.
And here's a bit more from Hoppy.
What do you think of the modern game and today's players? How long do you think you would have lasted in today's game?
I wouldn't have lasted very long. Most of the players wouldn't. It's a completely different game. Talk about Kevin Broadhurst tackle.
Yeah.
Steve McMahon didn't even get booked.
Yeah.
I mean, you get done for GBH in them days and then let you off.
Nick's gone.
The game was completely changed. But you have to adapt to the game now.
Oh yeah, I mean your suspensions for a start, Rob. You always had more points than the Blues, didn't you, by Christmas?
They used to give you 4 points.
Yeah.
If you was booked, so sent off was 6 points or something. And the one season they used to send you the bookings through by post. The one season I was working out, I had 40 odd points, and the Blues only had 32. You were top of the league. I was in Europe.
Oh dear.
But it's only like the players. I mean, one thing I've said to you going before, the one thing I hate is people kiss the badge.
Yeah.
Proper supporters don't like that. I mean, the most important thing is not the name of the player on the back. It's the badge on the front.
Yeah, that's one of my.
I don't care about people.
One of my favourite sayings to footballers is, "You play for the badge on the front, and we'll remember the name on the back."
Yeah, exactly.
That's very true.
Forget the name. I don't care about the name on the badge.
You've stole it off me, have you?
But also in touching back in as it was back then, you had a broken leg, didn't you, against Bournemouth? And I mean, what kind of?
Well,
they never looked after you at all.
I broke my leg and
I didn't manage to let them go at you.
It's from the back. But I didn't get straight. 2 stewards carried me off, and I went in the change room. No doctor, nothing. I've broken my leg, and I said, "What do I do?" They said, the physio went back to watch the game. So I'm sitting there with a broken leg. My mate come in. I said, "What should I do?" I had to get a taxi to the hospital. I've got a broken leg. I'm still in my kit.
Right.
So I went to Birmingham Hospital.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
And this is from St Andrews, is that?
Yeah.
Still in my kids.
Yeah.
And I said, can't fix your leg. They haven't paid the bill, the Blues.
Oh, so it's private.
So I had to come back and get a letter saying, we'll pay you. Went back again. They said, well, they owe us, we can't do your leg. So I went to NHS and got it done there. 4 hours I waited.
I mean, but again, when you're asking the question,
they wouldn't fix my leg because the Blues hadn't paid the bill.
The game back then to the game now, there is such a disparity.
Well, you've basically got an hospital on site now.
Yeah, but I mean, we're talking with Hoppy then, like.
So I ended up, I think, at East Birmingham or something, like a footballer.
Imagine that now.
4 hours.
You sit in the East Birmingham and like Nathan Redmond comes in with it's just a ridiculous situation of how players back then.
They just left me.
And also now, since you've left the game, you're in the Blues legends and stuff, and Broads and Tom have looked after you.
That's the biggest honour of my life. I got voted into that. I mean, when you think the club's been going 135 years, how many players had? Thousands.
Yeah.
And there's 18 photos in the club's legends lane, and I'm one of them.
Yeah.
One of 18, and thousands of brilliant players.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of crap players as well.
Yeah.
But like the honour when my picture's on there,
But
I can't believe it when I see it.
I mean, you're right, Rob. I mean, thousands of players, but not many that showed us your passion.
Well, I was never the best player in the world.
Yeah.
I'll admit that.
Yeah.
Every game, you give your best. That's all you should ask for.
And that's all fans want.
That's it. Yeah.
That's all we ask for. And go on there, wear our shirt, and do it for us. And Hoppy always did.
Can you see the football bubble bursting soon?
No, I can't, to be honest. It just keeps going up, doesn't it? Non-stop going up.
Yeah.
There's another... It's gone up... Has it increased next year, hasn't it? The Sky and...
Yeah.
Every team now, apparently, gets more than Man City did for winning it last year, next season.
Apparently your second
That's
and third
ridiculous.
division players are still on,
Yeah.
as I say, proper money, hundreds, not thousands. So I think they get mixed up. So, but the thing that gets me when I meet people say, "Oh, you're ex-footballer." Everybody thinks I'm loaded, you know.
Yeah. So
you're ex-footballer.
go on then. What? You be straight. What was the most you ever took from a game?
£500 a week.
£500. There you go. What a quality guy.
Honestly,
Perfect, mate. Brilliant. Quality.
That's what these guys used to earn in them days.
When I went to Man City, £500 a week.
Yeah.
That's the most I've ever earned.
Most you earned at Blues?
I was on 400 first time, or 350, but I took a cut the second time from West Brom. I was on 500 at Man City, 500 at West Brom, and I went to Blues for about 400, but they said you can have a win bonus for 100 to match it up. But I never got that win bonus, did I? That's a big mistake, isn't it, win bonus?
Yeah, and then playing you right back.
But £500 a week, yeah.
Well,
but, to be honest, 1981, 82, 83.
That wasn't a vast amount of money. It wasn't a vast amount of money. Like,
I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining whatsoever.
No, not at all. I'm sure, but like in comparison to the 60, 70,000s that some of them get now, and the 200,000 and 300,000 some of them get now, a week. Do we need that?
And let's be honest,
Don't start me, Gabby. I'll be here for
but
weeks.
some of these players, we can be here all night. We can drop off up at the pub in
I'd say £500 a week was a lot of money in there.
Yeah.
To be honest.
But you know, they're getting £70,000-80,000 just as squad players.
I wouldn't
these
change a
days.
thing anyway.
No,
I wouldn't change a thing.
you know, I've never heard any player that would change because you played in the right, you know, in an age where football was pure and we could relate.
Well,
to
on
them.
my deathbed, you know, I played for the club a lot, and you know.
You can't be fair in that.
And not only that, we loved you while you was there.
Of course we did.
And we still love him now. Ladies and gents, one and only Mr. Robert Hopkins.
SRBRadio.com. Coming up next, we've got blues fan and broadcaster Ian Danter. Please note this was recorded during the Carson era.
Ladies and gentlemen, listen to this. The one and only legendary Talk Sports, Mr. Ian Danter.
Welcome, Ian. You know,
some respect. I started that.
You've now officially
started that.
I know. You've now officially been given the clap from the team.
Yeah, you did.
No, that was it, but it wasn't by design.
I was actually at the game when it happened. Talk it through.
Well, no,
it was brilliant.
It was my mate Keith actually took it to the next level when he took over the commentary box from me, because what happened was when we were making substitutions, I decided that the play that was going off wasn't getting enough credit from the supporters, so there wasn't a discernible round of applause for the bloke coming off as well as for the bloke coming on. So I used to leave a gap. I used to say, coming off for Blues, number 9, Andrew Johnson, and leave a pregnant pause so that he got a round of applause. I'd leave it 5 seconds, number 10, Dealey Adebola, and he'd get a round of applause and a cheer. Now, when just through force of habit, I did that for the away team as well, and you have to credit the Blues fans. They picked up on that and they started the hoot. And the night when it all came together was Newcastle in a cup game when Shearer was on the bench. And as soon as Shearer's name was on the team sheet on the bench, word went round St Andrews, if we're in this and they bring him on second half, this is going to be magic. And I do remember he strips off and you could hear
not a pin.
Yeah.
They were hushing everybody around the ground, and it was just a magic moment, that was.
Shall we recreate this now?
No.
Come on, Dance. Replacing
number 11 for Newcastle, Keith Gillespie. It's number 9, Alan Shearer. I bet he'd never heard that before in his life, and I've noticed lots of other clubs do
they
it
all
now.
pick up.
But you see, you've got to credit the Blues fans for being first.
We're quite groundbreaking on many of the things, and
gallows humour.
Yeah, absolutely. The humour. I love St Andrews humour. It's brilliant. It's the best.
Although I'll give much as there's certain teams' names that can't be mentioned on here. Is that
B6?
right?
B6. The
team from B6 did sing "Itchy Scalp, My Lord" to Joe Hart last night, or the other night during the second half, which I thought was quite clever.
Very clever
for them.
SRBRadio.com. And this is where it becomes slightly heated. And apologies for the dodgy mic.
In that, an awful lot of people at Birmingham City who work on the administrative side who do, frankly, an incredible job, and are put upon by certain elements far too much. And I spoke to Paul about this on Saturday because I feel it's unfair that the official Twitter feed of Birmingham City is criticised for not criticising the manager in a tweet. And I told Paul I thought that was absolutely wrong, and I maintain that.
Yeah.
I think it's scandalous to ask. I mean, you show me an official club Twitter site that criticises its manager, and I will show you a 5 bob note.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that I don't expect them to criticise. I expect them to be a bit of balance. I mean, a lot of what comes out of the Blues, what comes out of the Goal Zone, what comes out of the Mail, you know, basically comes out of Birmingham City. And, you know, my argument, my angle from the media per se, is that there's been absolutely nothing in the way of digging. As a Birmingham City fan, we look at journalists to find out what's going on, and in my opinion, and we had James Nursey here a couple of 3 weeks back, and we was talking to James about it, and James said really pretty much categorically, look, it's only Birmingham City and the press ain't bothered. And that is the bottom line. If that would have been Man United that was in the predicament of Birmingham City, they would be all over
100% incorrect. And I'll tell you why.
Let's have a debate on it.
And I'll tell 100% incorrect, and I'll tell you why.
Yep.
One, I'm in a privileged position that I know how hard people work or don't work in my industry to get information. I will tell you this: your assertion of how the Birmingham Mail goes about getting its information and how local media goes about getting its information is bang wrong. They work. I know how hard Colin Tatham. I mean, I don't look. I'm not going to spend the next 90 minutes defending people who aren't here to defend themselves because they're big enough and ugly enough to fight their own battles. But I will not hear one single word in this room said against writers for the Birmingham Mail, who I know dig. You say they don't dig?
I don't think they do, no.
Garbage. They dig
With that
so
interview,
hard. So let me... Look, you've had your say.
Go on.
They dig incredibly hard. And the closest that we've ever come in any piece from any outlet, whether local or national, to try and get to the bottom of the mystery surrounding our club and how it is being run, there was a piece by the Swiss Ramble, which I read. Now, this is probably going back about 12 months, maybe 15 months or so ago. The Swiss Ramble is a very renowned blog on football. Really goes deep behind the surface. Now, even they... See if you can find it. I don't know whether it's still available on the net. But even the Swiss Ramble, in the midst of a quite wonderful blog and a great breakdown of trying to discern what was happening, even they couldn't get anything more than supposition, guesswork, call it what you will.
I think
what little information you get from the Birmingham Mail, from Free Radio, from WM, from all local sources, is the best that can be done because those guys are working hard. The other now, listen, Paul. The other thing that upsets me is when you happily tweet Panu's pets, as though the people that I'm talking about are somehow subservient to Peter Panu and the board. Again, I will tell you, 100% wrong, and it's insulting. And when you actually invited me in and said, when you actually invited me in and said, as part of the tweet for my invite, looking forward to seeing whether you bring one of Panu's pets with you, I thought, that's so out of order and so insulting. What we have is a situation where, because there is so little information coming out...
And you're absolutely right, yeah.
What is happening is people are lashing out in different ways. And it becomes splintered, it becomes fractured, and it becomes almost a witch hunt. And I think of the words to a song, quick to judge, quick to anger, slow to understand. ignorance and fear and prejudice go hand in hand. What the more time goes by with no information coming out, we have to look for targets. We have to look for scapegoats. We have to look for reasons we can find.
Can I just say that my with pets is, and I do not put Radio WM in there. I don't put the BBC in there.
The insinuation is all there.
What I say is, when Panu wants something to come out, he'll text Tom, and Tom will give the piece to Colin Tatum. The last one that yes, he did, because Rossi said that. The last one that we had that infamous on the goal zone, and then we had in the Birmingham Mail the picture of Peter Panu taking the picture of himself, and then 2-3 days later it come out. Oh, I think to sell Birmingham City we need to have the books up to date in Hong Kong. Well, blow me, for my daughter who's 5 couldn't have told you that. The press haven't they haven't done the job properly, and that is my opinion, and that's the opinion of a lot of Birmingham City supporters.
Well, in that case they're wrong, because as I go back to my original point, if a blog like the Swiss Ramble, which is as informative as you'll get, can't uncover and can't scratch beneath the surface any more than people like Colin and Tom, who work diligently all day, every day. You're making it sound like they sit there.
No, I'm not.
They twiddle their thumbs and they do the square root of nothing to uncover information. Again, I will tell you, I'm not in a position where I dig, because I don't get to see Birmingham City very often as a club. I don't get to go to press conferences very often. I have no real relationship with anybody like Lee Clark, save for the rare occasions I'm able to go and interview him. I interviewed him after the Sheffield Wednesday game, and that's the second home game I've been to this season, because my work takes me elsewhere. Don't get to go to press conferences, because now we're no longer a Premier League club. My radio station tends not to send reporters to pre-match Championship press conferences. They do for FA Cup sometimes, but my workload in terms of going to Birmingham City and working at the club has been vastly reduced, because I'm sent to Premier League grounds or Premier League presses as part of my work. So what my point is, I'm not a party to information, but what I do know from the conversations I have, the way I network with people within the club, I know how hard and how consistently hard local outlets work to try desperately to get information, because nobody at all wants the fans to be in the dark. Nobody wants this uncertainty to breed what it has bred, based on what we've been talking about. Accusations being fired off here and there. It's wrong, and you know what? It just helps destabilise the club further, so you get atmospheres like we've had. I was there for the Sheffield Wednesday game.
Well, you get the protest groups that flew up a few weeks ago.
I watched the performance. I thought, right, okay, let me finish. I watched that performance based on the squad that is available to the manager, who didn't have anything more than shirt buttons to deal with and lost a lot of players last summer. I thought the performance was pretty much what I would have expected from a Birmingham City team with that squad at that stage of the season against that kind of opposition in Sheffield Wednesday. I thought it was okay. I'm certainly not going to tell you it was a good performance, but I certainly wouldn't say it was poor. I thought it was what I would have expected, certainly nowhere near what I would have expected had I believed what I'd seen written online about them.
I think, Ian, sometimes for us supporters it's difficult to understand and to believe that we're not a Premier League club anymore in the position that we were in.
Most of my adult life has been spent watching Birmingham out of the top flight.
Same as mine.
You and me, all of us in this room are of a certain generation where we've known the ups and the downs. It's different with a club like Villa, because you've got 2-3 generations of fans who've known nothing but Premier League football, and that's why there's the real fear down there about relegation and what it might mean. Does it mean, how do they view Championship football as a going concern as a supporter? How many lapsed supporters would you get?
I do network with quite a few Villa fans on social networks, and they are in the firm belief that they will keep their squad and return straight back to the Premier League.
Sometimes they do. McLeish got us back at the first attempt. Steve Bruce got us back at the first attempt. And there are plenty of examples of teams that can bounce back at the first attempt, and all they have to do is look across the Aston Expressway at us for the 2 occasions where we've done it in the last decade or so. But of course, this time round...
But there's also the club there. They're propped up by Randy Lerner for the tune of something like £100 million.
They have, yes, but at the same time he's reducing the wage bill. And there's all sorts of whys and wherefores, and there's cost cutting, and there's an experimentation with the squad, to try and get them through this year, and that's supposed to toughen them up for next. With Birmingham, and them not getting up last year, I thought it was a Herculean effort
Yes, absolutely.
by all concerned. And Chris Hughton...
And we only missed out on the last blip, didn't we?
I remember the 4-1 defeat at Southampton. Was it September?
September, sorry, yeah.
And the hammering that Chris Hughton got then as a manager, that he was clueless.
Well, that was an awful performance at Southampton away.
Clueless, didn't know what he was doing. I also remember the outcry over his team selection before the Bruges game. He's clueless, he doesn't know what he's doing. Why is he picking him? Why is Endor only getting European games? Hang on, we won that game, we got 10 points, and but for a...
I think we're the only club ever to get 10 points and not go through.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever happened before. 3 teams on 10 points. And it just
happened to a...
And there was that extraordinary game between Braga and Bruges, I think, whilst we were playing Maribor.
Yeah, 4-3,
where it looked like it was all going our way, and then final day it was kind of irrelevant. But with what point were we getting to? Yeah, it just in terms of where the club is at now, based on what's been taken away from us, what we're having to pay money for in terms of the cash flow. Of course, we're hemorrhaging money because of Nicola's wages, predominantly. I think we are where we are, and we are where I would expect us to be.
At the bottom of the league?
Yes.
Hold on, let's roll back to August. And the Birmingham Mail did a poll where Birmingham City fans thought that they would be at the end of the season. Where did you think Birmingham would be?
I thought mid-table, and I'll tell you the reason why. Mid-table because Endor and all the loan players had gone back. So Townsend...
Do you think Endor was that good?
Yes, well, I think...
he was strong.
I
remember Jeff Horsfield laughing about some of his performances on the goal zone.
Yeah, well, I thought he was a solid...
I thought he was average.
Yeah, but I thought he brought a strength and a bit of presence to defensive midfield that we required. All right, he certainly wasn't a cultured footballer.
No, not at all.
But, a cultured footballer, and rather a non-cultured footballer, will still help you get to mid-table in a given division. So, all the loan players had gone back. And I also thought, during the course of the summer, the effort that players like Burke, Davis, Caldwell, Carr, others, had put in to get us to 6th place. I thought, well, they've gone to the well 46 times, plus 6 Europa League games, plus 2 qualifiers, plus an FA Cup run.
Yep.
They've gone to the well time and again to draw out those performances, and I don't know how they've done it.
Superb, good management.
Fantastic.
Well,
management.
but...
Even though we didn't go...
What I'm going on to, the management is irrelevant in terms because you're asking those players to keep going to the well.
Yeah.
Now, you'll notice the first half of this season, Chris Burke's performances were nowhere near up to the standard
and he was
of what they were at the start of last. Now, his performances in recent weeks have given us cause to think, OK, well, he's back on the horse, he's back in the team. But I honestly think that a lot of those players suffered a really big hangover from last season that no manager could have arrested and could have turned round in a short space of time, and I would include Chris Hughton in that.
We've even said it in the studio
the sort of performances he got towards the end of last season. I don't think so. I think where we are is where we are realistically.
I am amazed with where we are. Honestly, I really am. Ravel Morrison, I mean, the best central midfield talented player that we've had on our books for many a season, he can't even get a look in.
How do we know that he's putting it in training?
Well, he might not be, but there's a lot of players that don't put it in training. You talk to many a pro, they will all tell you there's some players that are awful trainers, terrible in training, but if they put it in the game, they can pull that rabbit out the hat. I mean, our midfield couldn't create nothing.
You see, again, we're going back to supposition here, and we're going back to
well, I make players that can do it and players that can't.
I think we're going back to supposition, and we're going back to guesswork, and we're not dealing in facts here. We're dealing in as I say, in guesswork and opinions, which may or may not be correct.
Playing, I think Birmingham would be in a higher position.
But I think you look at Wolverhampton Wanderers beneath us in the table.
Nobody knows.
Given the amount of money that they spent in the summer, and I thought that the one thing, well, I mean, Solbakken clearly rubbed players up the wrong way. But I think that the problem they had at Wolves was there was a succession of managers, and much as I like Mick McCarthy, I would include McCarthy in this, in not spotting the problem. being the back four. It's only just recently that Dean Saunders has spotted that the Stearman, Berra, Ward, Johnson back four simply wasn't viable as a back four, and that's why you've seen recently Dosty's been playing right back. He's put Gawkes in alongside Johnson.
And again, Saunders last night got a tremendous amount of criticism on Twitter for his team selection.
He brought David Edwards in, I noticed, against Millwall, who ended up tucking in from right wing and evidently had a very effective performance.
And scored.
In midfield. But this, again, look at that, Millwall. They lose 5-1.
They're in trouble
at home to Peterborough. Then they win their next game. Then they lose at home
bit like
to
Birmingham
Wolves,
City, really.
who nearly lost at home to Watford. Haven't won a game under Dean Saunders. We go to Peterborough and win 2-0, with them having lost 1-5 at Millwall. This division is crackers.
It's crazy.
It's a not very good division.
It's amazing. I love it.
No, it's a poor standard division. It's awful.
And we don't have
to be where we are in this division takes some do,
irrespective, Gabby, irrespective of where we are, the Championship is an amazing place to be. For me, it's actually...
I love it and hate
it. The Premiership, because you ain't got a clue what's going to happen from one week to the next. All right, here we go.
Go on. Yeah, we just got a couple of things come chat. A lot of support for what you're saying, actually, Ian. This is fairly typical from Tom. Houghton said he left because he couldn't work the magic again as all the lone players were going. And Paul Smith, we all know Paul, he's agreeing with that as well. So, yeah, there's a lot of support for that.
Realism is all important at times like this. Now, we've plumbed the depths as a club in my lifetime. Although we never plumbed the depths of this. We've been there on Tuesday nights against Bury.
I've been there against Wigan away in that old grass bank.
Springfield Park, absolutely. That was plumbing the depths. And even we didn't sink as low as Wolves under the Batty brothers, going all the way down. And I remember going to Molineux in those days,
Chelsea
in the early 80s, and it was a horrific place. It was a derelict. It was a bomb site.
I remember I actually had, because I used to do a lot of work for Goodyear, and I had a ground tour of Wolverhampton Wanderers, but I wouldn't have got in the bath. No, there was actually cracks in it. I wouldn't have got in it, honestly.
I remember going to see. I went with a mate to see Wolves play Southend, and it was actually the first time I saw Ricky Otto play. So this would be even sort of mid-80s, 2 or 3 years before Barry picked him up. And I remember going to Molineux and looking around at these vast open spaces and thinking, what has this club become? Or what has this club been allowed to become?
It looks nice now, but what will it become again if they do?
Well, I think it's much less easy for grounds to fall into disrepair because of the way grounds are built now, the way that the stands are built. It's so much more, it's a much cleaner and much less open to abuse kind of stand that's built these days. So I don't think they'll fall into when you go to somewhere like Edgar Street in Hereford, which is just corrugated iron everywhere and is ultimately so depressing. We should be grateful for the fact that we have a stadium. All right, the main stand is and probably never will be up to the sort of standards that we would like, but the other three sides, we should be proud of that.
I love going there. Love it.
It needs Championship football, and it will have Championship football next year. That's my opinion.
For a while,
I think we just have to get used. Again, realism. I think we just have to get used to the fact that Championship football is the way it's going to have to be for the next couple of seasons. Of course, what we don't want is to become becalmed at that level, like Coventry were for as many seasons as they were before they finally dropped out, and look at the struggle they're having to try and get back. And then there's other teams like Derby County who've been in the Championship for an awful long while, and I am staggered how brilliant Derby County fans are. They've had
I live up there, so
6 or 7 years, maybe 8 of nothing. All the big wage earners have gone. They still get full houses at Pride Park. Every 2 weeks, you have to tip the hat.
No, fair play
to Derby
them.
County
But look at some of the football that we've had to endure, Dan. So
look at some of the football Derby, but
they ain't had McLeish, have they?
The football that Derby play is at
it
times
can't be any worse than McLeish's football. Blimey, it was awful.
Well,
one goal a game if we're lucky.
Well, he's gone got his hand up here.
Well, yeah, go on, it's your show. You carry on.
Just people are commenting on the old grounds and so on. Tom says, I like the old style grounds. Emirates and other such grounds are plastic.
Yeah, Stoke's
I like the club.
There's a lot of identical stadia out there. That's fine. I mean, I was up at Huddersfield the other week, and I like the look. It's slightly different, you know, with the cantilever stands on all four sides and the little spider leg thing. You know, that's all right. I don't mind if you get out of modern state. If there's something a little bit of character about it, the Reebok at Bolton's got a little bit of character about it, just to make it stand out a little bit. But yes, I take that point. So when you get to go to an old ground, funnily enough. In my work, it takes me around. Yeah,
Craven
Cottage. Yeah.
I like going to the City Ground at times. Go and watch Nottingham Forest. You get to sit in that old stand. You just get to. You get that feeling of the heritage and the.
Again, they're on the way back up. Forest, Billy Davies.
Well, we'll see. They've got Wolves next, haven't they?
Yeah, that will be a very good game.
And then, of course, we've got Wolves after that. Straight after that, so
that'll be fun.
Couple to watch there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, coming off the Blues for a little bit. Danter, a local lad. Tell us about your upbringing.
Well. I don't remember much about where I was, because I was born in Warwick.
Hey, my hometown.
And I moved to...
really?
Absolutely.
I moved to Solihull when I was 3. I'm the youngest of 3 boys.
Yeah.
And my dad, who's no longer with us, he passed away in 2008. He was considering becoming a county cricketer. He was in Warwickshire. Mm-hmm. After he did his national service in the 50s. Was offered the opportunity to play at Warwickshire as a batsman, opening bat. And Jack Bannister, who's one of my colleagues at Talksport, was in the team at the time. However, in those days, in order to make any kind of a living out of county cricket, you know, it was very tough to do. You'd have to have a job where you would work around the cricket season, and then you'd have to have a very understanding boss who would allow you 4 months off from, you know, the end of April through to the end of August. To play cricket and then go back to your job. And unfortunately, jobs like that weren't really that plentiful. And so my dad had to make a choice, and he elected to just go back to playing club cricket. And that's what I grew up on, watching my dad play a lot of club. He played at Alton and West Warwicks on St Bernard's Road, not too far from here. So I got a love of sport from him. He took me down the Blues. My first game was February '74 because I'm a third generation Blue Nose. My granddad and dad
Similar
both
to me.
Blue Noses.
How old are you now, Dan?
I'm 44.
Okay.
So my first game was '74 against Stoke. Jimmy Greenoff scored a hat-trick against us. He'd left us, gone to Stoke, and they walloped us 3-0. But I remember everything about that, the atmosphere that day. You remember the smoke hanging in the air, the Bovril, everything.
I was thinking about it.
Great player, Jimmy
Do you know
Greenoff.
when time's gone by, and the mist, there was a cracking ball heading towards goal who just missed, and the surge forward.
Yes.
I used to love.
Well, to be fair to my dad, the first few games he took me, he sat me in the main stand. He didn't want me in amongst the
I was
the bedlam. Not long after, and this is how different football was in the 70s and 80s to what it is now. My granddad then made me a little stool. Like an orange box.
There used to be loads of little stools.
But he made me a stool, a white stool, and we used to take it with us. We plonked it down the front rail halfway up the cop stand, and I would stand on that stool, be able to hold on to the
crash
to the terrace and to the crash barrier, and watch the game and not disturb anybody else. I just wouldn't move. And even the surges didn't come near me.
Great
it was
time.
great.
No, they weren't.
So I got my dad stood behind me. One of my brothers was normally with us as well. And so this is my love of Birmingham and sport developed from there. And it just continued on watching cricket with my dad. Yeah. We were at Edgbaston when both of them took 5 for 1 in the Ashes series. This was 81. This was 81, where we'd just beaten the Aussies at Headingley with an incredible performance from both of them with the bat and Willis with the ball. And it was a Sunday afternoon, and both of them came on and took 5 wickets for 1 run with the most incredible spell of bowling. We won that Test match. You know, you're there for those moments.
Yeah. So was your love more watching the sport or partaking in the sport?
Well, I was never particularly good as I tried playing cricket.
Guilty.
I was okay at playing cricket. I was a decent enough bowler because when I went to school, I played for the second team as their cricket captain. I was never good enough for the first team. I was a Solihull school boy.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you were posh.
Independent.
Right, okay.
So how long did you live in Warwick then?
How long? What? Sorry.
Did you live in Warwick?
Only till I was. We lived on Castle Close.
I know it well. Yeah.
So over the back of the back garden, there was a 20-foot high wall. You climbed over the wall like my brothers used to. You were in the castle grounds.
Yeah. I used to deliver my newspapers up there when I was a kid.
That's
how I used to get my football ticket money. The paper round.
What, you doing Argus round?
Never know, I might have
Kings
done
of
a dancing
Champions.
newspaper in the
And I'll tell you what,
You
though,
may well have done. You may well have
No, I'm
done.
a bit older than you.
well, them crash barriers were great. I mean, I used to have one in my back garden from St Andrews.
After the Bristol City game.
when it all come down, and literally, I know it's like radio, and people can't see what I'm showing with my hands. But the crash barriers come down. They had a little lip. My left foot was like half like on cock to get on there, and I'd literally over the terraces watching Birmingham City, because they say in them days it wasn't uncommon to have 40,000 down at St Andrews.
No, well, that's what I remember.
10,000 there watching last night.
And I remember, but equally I remember 4,000 there watching Bury in 92, whatever it was. I know when Paul Tate was coming through as a young player. But so that was my upbringing. It was watching Blues with my dad. We weren't season ticket holders. You didn't need to be in those days.
50 pence to get in, wasn't it?
So we
50 pence?
It was. I can remember my dad. My dad walking up the Coventry Road, and the sign was. The sign had gone up for, I think it was 45p the week before, and it got up 50 pence. Yeah, mad.
Yeah, programme was about 8
we used to park our car on Prince Albert Street, and the young kids used to, watch your car, mister.
Yes.
And they never ever did, did they?
Never once. I think we caught them once. We caught one of them once when I'd gone with Dad to get a bottle at half time. We were convinced we saw one up by the box at the back of the cop stand, but he soon turned tail.
It was all part of the day, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it was all part of the day, and getting back into the car to listen to Tony Butler on my way, and that was where my love of radio started, because Butler,
legend,
was the first person on radio anywhere to have an opinion and challenge people's perceived opinions. I think he was this kind of guy, the first kind of guy who would say Villa were rubbish today. Yeah. And prompt. I mean, he's the reason.
But
Tony
he would
Butler,
speak his mind, Dance.
He was the reason that the 7-second delay was invented for radio to dump swear words and stuff.
God, I remember those days, blimey.
But again, to be fair, if you're going to be on radio, you've got to express them opinions, and you've got to give your genuine opinion. It's no good saying, look, I thought Blues are brilliant when they were awful.
But also,
you've
sometimes
got to say it as
you've got to stand back, and if listen to everybody else's opinion.
Of course you do, but the fans know. you can't kid the fans. The fans know what it's at.
All right, what was your funniest moment live on air?
I've thrown up on air.
Have you? Really?
Yeah.
Did they hear the bath?
Well, if you listen back to the tape, and thankfully most of the copies have been erased, but it was a Sunday afternoon show on TalkSport, and I had Alvin Martin and Jason Cundy with me, and I'd done a gig the night before with the band I was in, the Kiss tribute band I was in, and we played in Stourbridge down at the what's now called the River Rooms, and they always used to give us free food once we finished, and like a pizza.
Oh yeah.
And I'd had a couple of slices of this vegetarian pizza, and driving down to London the next morning, because we were on air at midday, so I'd left quite early, 8 o'clock. Wasn't feeling too well. By the time I was on air, I was feeling decidedly peaky. And halfway through asking Jason a question about club or country, I suddenly thought, I'm going to be sick here. So I finished the question as quickly as I could. Jason's sitting, a bit where you are, about 5 foot away. There's a big dustbin with a bin liner in it. Just be right where you put your discarded texts and emails that get brought through to you on A4. And I just, as quietly as I could, leant over and blew chunks in there. Alvin and Jason are wide, like deers trapped in their headlights, looking at what this bloke's doing.
Did they just carry on? Were they professional?
Well, Jason, bless him, he tried to answer the question, and I think he tried to say either clubs or countries, and unfortunately he got the two words mixed up. I'll say no more than that. And the next thing I knew, I kind of stumbled out of the studio thinking I better go to the toilet, and half an hour later I woke up in the toilet, almost in the fetal position. I think it must have been a norovirus or something like that, because 24 hours later, back at home, I was fine, but I still had to drive home after all that, so I finally plucked up the courage about 6 o'clock in the evening to drive home, and I think Turkey had qualified for the World Cup or something, so the route I'd taken home through London was through a Turkish settlement where they're all blocking the roads,
celebrating,
tooting the air horns, and I do not need this. But yeah, that was a pretty embarrassing moment.
Well, in your long career since 1974, since your first game, what would you say was your best game at St Andrews that you've attended?
At St Andrews,
whether that's been on a professional level or as a supporter.
As a supporter, I would probably say Brentford in the 94-95 season.
Right.
I remember going up there with an incredible sense of anticipation, because it was first versus second, wasn't it? We were going for the title with Brentford. It was in and around the Auto Windscreens final. We were playing 3 games a week. We'd gone down to Plymouth on a Thursday and won, I think. Claridge had rescued a point at Bristol Rovers in the last minute. But I remember the anticipation. This is big because we knew, Barry had promised.
Teaching on the edge.
We were, and Kevin Francis knackered his knee up. He wasn't in the bed. He shouldn't have played, I don't think. But I remember it was a Jonathan Hunt corner. Leon Daish knocked it down, and Super Kev turned and whacked it in. But he did his knee in scoring the goal.
Yes, I remember it. Yeah,
and he had to go off. And then Liam Daish scored the second from another Hunt corner. This was at the both goals at the Tilton Road end.
Yep.
And I just remember the ground absolutely shaking. I also remember we lost Granger later that game. I think he did his cruciate later that game. But that one, obviously the first game against Villa, the Monday night game, I was there for that. You couldn't not be there for that. And again, that first goal, although it was at the other end, the 3-0. 3-0. Even though the Morrison goal was at the other end, because I was lucky enough to have a seat on the Tilton that night, I still felt the ground.
What would you say would be your worst experience, your worst game then?
Watford playoff penalty shootout, because I was working the tannoy that night.
Really?
And I was having to be
professional.
Yeah, and it was very difficult to be professional.
It was very difficult to be a supporter that night.
That was pretty horrible. Also, I had to be professional when we were getting done 7 by Liverpool in the FA Cup 6th round replay 2007.
Yeah, I watched that one on TV.
Terrible. I was reporting back into Talksport that night, and Adrian Durham, who was doing the evening show in those days, was laughing at me with every goal that went in. And I think my full-time report started something like, "This wasn't men against boys, this was men against amoebas," and that was particularly difficult to keep because
it must hurt to write a bad report.
Well,
in the art.
That's the one truth, then. At the end of the day,
I think, in all honesty, what I've learnt over the years is because I worked for so many years for Tom, doing commentaries on Birmingham, Villa, Albion, Wolves, Walsall. In those days, you learn that you have to be partisan towards the team that you're commentating on, because you have to be a professional. So there were Villa games I had to commentate on where I had to be partisan towards Villa because it's fair to the supporters. What you learn when you become a national radio broadcaster and you're actually a neutral most of the time is that when you actually end up doing your own team, as has happened, watching Birmingham, that neutral stance that you take game in, game out, watching, I don't know, Crewe Cardiff 1 week, Bristol City against Crystal Palace the next, then you get to go to watch Birmingham against whoever. That neutral stance you take as a reporter actually helps you be more balanced in your opinion of how your team is doing or not doing. And I think that's really, really been important. People accuse me of, I've been accused of all sorts. I mean, I've been accused of being a Villa season ticket holder. I've been accused of being a West Ham season ticket holder. I've been accused of being anti-Birmingham. Just the most ridiculous things you get from no marks who I'm never going to meet in my life. These strangers who think it's appropriate to text things in wishing I was going to die just because I had an opinion. But you do learn after a time how to temper the partisan part of your brain and just try and look on things objectively, and I think that helps you as a broadcaster. You can be. I mean, listen. They sent me to Wembley 2 years ago with my Blues hat firmly on. I was part of the commentary team that day, but with my blue and white stripes firmly on. Completely. I mean, I couldn't be anything else. You couldn't have possibly sent me to a cup final, asked me to be objective. And when Bowyer gets clattered by Szczesny in the first couple of minutes, I was, we all were, raging. Why is he not? Why have we not had a red card for that? Well, it was offside anyway. But anyway, the point is,
he actually was onside. The line bottled it.
He did. But what I've found is over the years you do learn to be more objective as a reporter. So when I go and watch Blues now, like I did, the last game I saw was the Wednesday game, the 0-0. Again, I wasn't as disheartened as I thought I was going to be. I thought, well,
I was actually, and again, I went with I think 2 of my sons and my ex-wife's little boy. We take him as well.
Yeah.
And I came home just feeling like we'd lost. That's me.
Well, that's our first goalless draw of the season.
It was possibly because I'd taken this other lad as well for the very first time. It was his very first game, and I felt a bit guilty that the
Could have been
atmosphere
worse. It
wasn't
could have been
brilliant.
3-0 with Jimmy Greenough scoring a hat-trick for his first game, and that could have been but I came back for more then, so there's no reason to suggest that somebody can't come back for more.
Having said that, the lad who went with us for his first game, he said he doesn't want it to be his last. So there's some seeds sown there.
That's all you need. You just need that little bit of, I don't know, whatever. It's just being there, and the adverts are dead right. It's all about being there.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you tune in for part 2 tomorrow, 8:15, here on www.srbradio.com.